Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today we're going to talk about police. It might seem an alarming subject, but I am always surprised how police in different countries behave in different ways. Policemen in the UK, policemen and policewomen, it's correct to call them police officers. Police officers in the UK are there to help you. They're not there to make you feel unsafe. They're there to help you with any problems you might have. And their role is peacekeeping. If you see a policeman on the street, you don't have to run away or feel unsafe, because he will be very happy to answer any questions that you have. Police officers in the UK are taught to respect everyone, regardless of what they look like, regardless of things like sexual orientation, race, or gender. Policewomen and men are trained to help everyone that they meet. Police officers in the UK always walk around in twos. It's unusual to see a single police officer. Usually there are at least two of them there together. And this is very important because it can make you feel very safe in case you feel intimidated by a police officer. If you're in the UK and you have any problems, the emergency number to talk to a police officer is 999. There is another number you can use to contact the police as well, if it's something which isn't so urgent. That number is 101. So if you have an emergency, for example, fire, or you see some bad thing happening, 999 is the number. But if you just want to talk to the police, maybe to get some advice, or you want to report something that's not quite so serious, then you should dial 101. These numbers only work inside the UK. So unfortunately, you can't call them from outside. The police there are always very happy to help. You should think of our police more like customer services people, because they will always do their best to help you. And if they cannot do their best to help you, then they will find someone who can help you. So if you're lost, looking for directions, perhaps you are in some kind of trouble, you should never be afraid to go to a British police officer. I know that in America things are a little bit different, because the police there can be appointed by the local mayor, and also the police in America, they can be trained very quickly within a few weeks. But police in the UK, it takes many years to become a full police officer, with lots of exams and training. In small villages in the US, in the United States, it's often the case that the richest man in the village will have some power. Maybe he'll be the sheriff with an assistant, not always, of course. Or perhaps he will be appointed by the mayor or by the police department. Here, our police are very centralized. Everyone has been trained in the same way, and there is no special favors just because someone is rich. As well as police officers, we also have other people on the street who work for the government. In big cities like London, you might see people who are wearing a uniform, but perhaps it's not quite the same as the police. For example, in London, there are people there who are not exactly police, but you can think of them as assistant police. They can arrest you if you do something wrong. They also can use mediation to stop any arguments. And they're there to help the public and to make the public feel safe. If you ever have any doubts about who you're talking to, if it's a real policeman or an assistant police officer, then you should always ask to see their ID. If they don't show you ID, or if there's any difficulties with identification, or even if you just feel suspicious because there's only one rather than two, then you should immediately dial 101 just to make sure that you're talking to someone who is genuine. Our police are trained to make you feel safe, and that's exactly what they do if they really are police officers. There's also traffic wardens. They also look a little bit like police officers because they wear a similar kind of uniform, and they come to check that cars are parked properly. So if you see someone walking around your car who has a uniform, and maybe they're carrying a small computer with them, then it is safe to think that it's probably the traffic warden. And if you get to your car quick enough, maybe they won't give you a ticket. Maybe, if you speak nicely to them. So, there's police officers. There's the assistant police. We call them wardens. And I'm sure in some areas they have a different name as well. They usually only exist in the cities. And then we have traffic wardens. The police can come in all shapes and sizes. Most of them are walking or are on bikes, on horses, or in their cars. Always you'll see them in twos. So it's very unlikely you'll see one policeman on a horse. Usually there's two together. Our police are very, very safe, and you should not hesitate to ask them anything because they'll be very, very pleased to help you. But remember, if you feel unsafe at any time, you simply walk away from the situation, or if the person is intimidating you, you can tell them, well, I will call 101 to see exactly who you are. And then you can walk away, or you can wait for the real police to come to help you. This is the best approach. We also have store detectives. So if you're in a big shop and maybe you try to take something from the shop, you could be getting watched by a store detective. A store detective is not the same as a police officer. It's not the same as a real police detective either. It's someone usually employed by the shop, maybe a security guard who wears plain clothes, but he walks around to see who is doing bad things. So if you see someone walking around the shop for a long time and looking at other people, that could be a store detective. And of course, we don't go to store detectives and say, "Excuse me, are you a store detective?" That would be a very strange thing to do. So we also have these security guards in shops. We have store detectives wearing plain clothes. And of course, we also have plain clothes police officers. And again, if the plain clothes police officer asks you anything, maybe he comes to you in the train station and says, "I'm a police officer, you must come with me," then you certainly should not go with him. You should wait, you should ask for identification, and if he doesn't show you anything which you believe, you can tell him, well, I'm going to call 101 to find out if you're genuine. Police officers in the UK are not allowed to stop you on the street unless they suspect that you've done something wrong. So, for example, if they think that you were driving too fast, then they can come to you and they can say, "Excuse me, you were driving too fast." But if they stop you on the street to say, "I want to look inside your bag," or "You have to come to the station now," then you have every right to question them. You would say, "Why? What do you want from me? Who are you? And I'm not showing you anything in my bag until you show me some identification." So, these are the golden rules. 1. Always ask the police officer for ID. 2. Be very suspicious if the police officer is alone. 3. Remember that police officers in the UK are not allowed to accuse you or ask you anything unless they suspect that you've done something wrong. So if they ask you things like, "Where have you been?" or "Where are you going?" you don't have to answer until you know exactly why they are asking. In an emergency, of course, you should listen to a police officer. If you hear a voice saying, "Get down, get out the way," or if you see a police car running past you or going past you very quickly, or a police officer running, you should simply get out of their way and don't try to stop them. That's my advice. I hope this has been helpful for you, and remember those numbers: 999 if you see an accident or an emergency, which is a fire or a burglary, or you need an ambulance to take you to the hospital, or if you're at the coast and you see a boat in trouble. But you dial 101 for everything else. So if you, for example, lose your phone, you want to know if it's been handed in, you can dial 101, but in some places they will probably tell you that you should complete a form online. Around central London there are many big police stations. A few of them have moved recently, and it's a good idea to know where your local police station is if you're on holiday, because it might help you to make you feel safer. The UK is generally a very safe place to be, and I hope when you come, if you come, that you enjoy it. And remember, police officers are there to serve you and to help you. They're not there to make life difficult. And they never ever use violence unless it's absolutely necessary. See you. Bye bye.